It's the new vice presidential pick for Donald Trump, who basically just selected an Israeli firster. So let's get right to it. JD Vance, Trump's vice presidential pick, hook on Israel, critic of foreign aid. Now, a little bit of background. It's going to be a quick bit, not very long. JD Vance actually started out as a quasi-libertarian who opposed the war in Iraq, actually supported the Ron Paul campaign, and then all of a sudden, just like that, meets up with Peter Thiel, who we're going to get into in a minute, and basically now supports the state of Israel. In fact, he's gotten more rabid as time progresses in his regards to China and Iran. This is a dangerous pick, but it really doesn't matter because Biden basically is just as dangerous as Trump, but Trump's cabinet might be a little bit more hawkish on Iran and China than Biden's administration. Biden's administration basically is Ukraine and parts of the Middle East as well. So here's an article by Adam Lucente where he says that former U.S. President Republican nominee Donald Trump announced Monday that he picked Ohio Senator J.D. Vance to be his vice presidential running mate, choosing a candidate that could galvanize the Republican base and supporters of an American first foreign policy as well as pro-Israel voters. And by the way, J.D. Vance is the youngest to basically run. He's 39 years old, which is far younger than Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump. And when I say that, Vance is, I think, um, uh, two times as young as Biden and Trump. Biden is, I think, 81. Trump is 79. Um, and I'll, of course, put the article in the description. But as you can see, it's in contrast with more hawkish voices in the neoconservative wing of the Republican Party. Vance has criticized foreign aid and U.S. military operations in the Middle East. However, he is pro-Israel. Vance's criticism of U.S. policy does not include questioning U.S. support for Israel at the Quincy Institute speech. He made a case that Israel differs from Ukraine in terms of U.S. aid. It's sort of weird that this town assumes that Israel and Ukraine are exactly the same. They're not, of course. And I think it's important to analyze them in separate buckets. Ukraine basically um, didn't invade Israel, didn't invade Palestine. Israel did. Ukraine didn't invade Russia. Israel is basically the worst of the two. Now, a couple of months ago, um, JD Vance spoke about the war in Israel. And this was, I think, in October. And what is he saying? It's an advanced statement with Israel, October of 2023. Senator Vance issued the following statement regarding Hamas' brutal terrorist attacks against the people. The horrible terrorist attacks launched by Hamas were an act of war. We must unequivocally condemn these heinous attacks of violence against innocent civilians and the Iranian regime for funding the terrorists who carried them out. And you can already see the steps behind what's happening with people like JD Vance, who basically is an Israeli firster, somebody who actually supports um, the state of Israel through AIPAC lobby money. It's not like, JD Vance and Steny Hoyer or Nancy Pelosi. These people aren't just going to say that Israel's on our side without getting money first. All right. These are whores of the US state. And that's what we have allowed them to become through our support and our vote. This is the reason why I always tell you people not to vote, because it encourages these people to become criminals, right? Now, Peter Thiel is an American entrepreneur who co-founded PayPal, Palantir Technologies, and the Founders Fund, and was, I think, he was an investor with Facebook. I'm not too sure, but he's a billionaire and has basically funded JD Vance since he was a senator. Is also is an Israeli firster, and there's a Bloomberg article that gives the headline. As you can see, Peter Thiel, Mercer back a potential JD Vance Senate run. And as you can see, the article is a little bit hidden, but I just wanted to show you that, there's some nefarious people behind JD Vance, and a little bit more about Peter Thiel, and to show you where he's at. Meanwhile, Thiel's apparent reservations over living in Israel, where he holds investments, has not kept him from visiting. In 2017, he met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu when he was the prime minister and spoke before an audience of tech entrepreneurs in Tel Aviv, where the PayPal co-founder and early Facebook backer praised the startup nation as an economic success story. A committed Christian has otherwise expressed admiration for Israel as an ideological project. In an interview with the Hoover Institution 2 years ago, the venture capitalist claimed to view the Jewish state, along with the U.S. and the United Kingdom, as an ideal model of national self-assertion, standing stalwart when he characterizes the twin threat of Islamic Sharia law and Chinese communist surveillance. You can see where this is setting up. China, Israel, Iran, Lebanon, Syria. This is a dangerous precedent, just as dangerous as Biden's almost engagement with Russia in World War III. This actually would be a little bit more worse because it would involve the military ground troops. Heaven forbid we engage with China or Iran, the United States actually would be in huge trouble. And I've already predicted 2 years ago in a radio broadcast where I called in to Scott Horton. I remember telling Scott Horton, what war do you think would be more viable in the future? Would it be Iran, North Korea, or China? And he basically said that he thinks it would have been North Korea at the time. Now, he was right. In fact, we were almost engaged with North Korea. But this is the only thing I disagree with him on. I think Iran is the next war because Israel is the primary, as well as Saudi Arabia. They're the primary backers of this war, and they're the two major leading influences in American politics today, outside of any other corporate entity. But they are the biggest foreign lobbyists pushing for this conflict, and for two entirely different reasons, but they share the common goal. JD Vance is a bad pick. It's a bad pick for the future. But what else is new? It's not like we're going to get good picks here. In fact, what I think is going to happen in the next two years, give it about 2 years, is a rise of the nationalist right, the Christian nationalist right. And they're not Christian, and they don't have anything to do with classic conservatism. These are people who are fanatics, extremists, in the same way the Biden administration are filled with authoritarians, totalitarians, socialists, communists, and other types of extremists themselves. These people are more concentrated on the issues inside the United States. This is going to be a big problem because what they're going to do is they're going to demonize liberals, people of the left, people who are classic leftists, not these crackpot leftists under the Biden administration. And guess who's going to suffer? The American people. Please do not fall for this. I'm going to beg you. I'm going to do more videos in the future about this. What Project 225, which I did my last video, please look at that. This is an actual project brought on by Trump administration officials, young people who are basically looking at 30 years, 40 years down the line, unlike Biden, who tried to destroy the country economically, through illegal immigration, through the dissolution of finances, inflation, and what have you. And what happens? The people will rise up against. Doesn't this sound just like 1920s Germany? Take a look at revisit of history, and you'll see that a revisitation of history could mean that there could be a prelude to the future. Now, I'm not saying we're going to become Weimar Republic all of a sudden. We are going to basically have to share concern that the people like Donald Trump and JD Vance and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tom Cotton and Lindsey Graham and all these warmongers basically do share a common bond between an extremist view of what Christianity is, which is basically contradictory to what Christ taught in the Bible. And this should mean this should be a warning to minorities and people of a different sexual preference, or people who are liberals in the classic sense. Take heed, because this is what's coming if it does come with the Trump-Vance administration, because they'll look to circumvent the Constitution and Bill of Rights to where nobody else threatens their position. Nobody else actually threatens the establishment that they're trying to establish, which is basically a Sharia of their own form, which is Christian nationalism. All right, guys. Look, I'm going to get going. Have a great rest of your day. Stay cool. It's going to be very hot today.